So now we're going to make some sweet dough. Sweet dough is the base of a lot of tarts and flans and things. So it's just basically a sweet pastry bottom. It's a little bit different than pie dough in that it uses a lot of butter and eggs, whereas pie dough is just fat and flour and water. We're going to add some butter and eggs to this. So we're going to start with our paddle in the machine, and we have our butter at room temperature. So you're going to add your butter to the machine. And then we're going to just sort of paddle it a little bit. We're going to add our sugar to that. And we're going to turn it up just a little bit. So while that's creaming, I'm going to crack my egg. Just make sure I don't have any shells. What I'm looking for is for this to get a little light and fluffy, but not super aerated. I don't want it to be like I'm making cookies where I really, really want it aerated, but I do want it a little lighter than it is right now. So I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. You can see how it's really sticking to the sides of the bowl. So I'm just going to give it a quick scrape down. I'm going to pay a lot of attention to that little bulb on the bottom of the KitchenAid bowl. Make sure I'm scraping everything up there. I'm going to let it go just another minute. Okay, so you can see that it's gotten a little bit lighter and that the color's changed a little bit. So I want it to be a little more white than yellow and a little aerated, but I don't want it to be super fluffy. So I've done all of those things. Now I'm going to add my egg. If I was making a recipe that used 5 eggs or 10 eggs, I would try and add my eggs in 3 additions. But because we just have 1 egg, we're just going to add it. It's best if all of your ingredients can be at room temperature. You don't really want to put a cold egg into your room temperature butter because it's going to seize the butter and make it go all really hard. So I'm going to start paddling that for a minute. And because it's such a small amount, it's really clinging to the bottom of the bowl. So I'm just going to give it a quick scrape down to get everything moving. And what I'm looking for is for it to look like one smooth mixture. Right now, it sort of looks like chunks of butter and a little bit of liquid egg, and I want it to look smooth as one texture. So when that happens, that's when I know I'm done. So it's almost there, but I'm going to give it one more quick scrape. Then I'm going to paddle it for maybe another 30 seconds or so. So you can see my mixtures all come together. There's no wet bits. It just looks like one smooth mixture. So that's how I know I'm done. So one more quick scrape. Make sure you've got everything off that little ball in the bottom. And then we're going to add our flour. Because we're using pastry flour, I've already sifted it, but you always want to make sure that you sift pastry flour because it tends to clump up into little balls. Once you've done that, we're just going to tip it all in here. And then on low speed, we just want to bring it all together, so nice and gently. It's important here that you don't overmix the dough. So I don't want to put it on high speed. I don't want to rush it. I just want it to come together slowly and make sure that it's nice and smooth like a dough. I can see around the center of the paddle that I have a chunk of butter stuck, so I'm going to turn off the machine for a second and scrape that off, just to make sure that it's all going to mix nice and smooth. And I'll give a quick toss to the sides just to make sure there's no chunks of butter hiding anywhere. Then we'll let it mix one more minute. You can see that the dough is starting to pick up around the sides of the bowl, and it's not leaving dry little powdery bits anywhere. So just when it comes just a little bit smoother, I can see right down in here that there's a little bit of dry powder. Now that that's picked up, I know that I'm done. So I'm going to turn the machine off. And then knock everything out of the paddle. And then you just want to gather all of the dough together. Make sure it's all nice and cohesive in the bowl. Just move the KitchenAid out of the way. So right now, this dough is super soft. 2 reasons. One, it's very, very warm in here today, so it didn't take very long for the butter to really soften. And 2, because I've just mixed it. So what I want to do is, now that I want to check it over, make sure I don't have any streaks of butter or flour inside, which I don't. So that's great. If you do, give it a couple of gentle kneads just to make sure it's all mixed up really nice. And then I'm going to put it into a plastic bag, but you can wrap it in saran wrap. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is that when you put it in whatever plastic you're going to put it in, don't leave it in a hard little ball. You want to sort of pat it out nice and flat for 2 reasons. 1, it's going to chill faster for you, and 2, it'll warm up a bit faster when you go to roll it next time. So we're going to wrap that up nice and tight, all the way wrapped up in plastic, and then we're just going to throw that in the fridge or freezer for storage. That's it. That's sweet dough.